Hey guys, Dr. Frank here, founder of AddictionMindset recovery coaching programs where we help people quit nicotine, THC, energy drinks, and a whole host of other addictions. So if you're struggling with an addiction, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I try and put out a video daily to help you along the way. Now, in today's video, I want to take some time and talk about the first 3 days, the first 3 weeks, and the first 3 months when it comes to quitting nicotine and nicotine withdrawal. Now, this can apply to someone who smokes cigarettes, someone who's been addicted to vaping, someone who's been addicted to chewing tobacco or the Zen pouches, snus pouches. Doesn't really matter the type of nicotine you're addicted to. This timeline is going to apply to you. Now, the first day, okay, so you wake up in the morning, you decide it's time to quit nicotine, it's time to quit vaping, it's time to quit smoking. The first day, what can you expect? Well, for many, they're usually pleasantly surprised. The first day, for most, usually is not that bad. So you wake up in the morning, you have a very positive mindset. You're feeling very, very good about your decision to quit, which is one of the most important things to do, to pre-frame yourself in a very positive light for that first 24 hours. Because remember, you're not giving something up, you're gaining your life back, so this is a positive moment. And people usually go into this day with a lot of momentum. They feel good. They don't really feel much when it comes to withdrawals. Maybe they get a craving here or there, but the first day they're usually doing pretty good. And then we're coming to the evening of the first day, and this is where most people start to really feel a little bit more intensity on those cravings. Now, usually within the first 24 hours, people may experience a headache. This headache has to do with the nicotine withdrawal. Now, there's many ways to manage a headache, and a headache is a very, very minor side effect when compared to the long-term side effects of vaping, smoking, or chewing tobacco, right? So we don't want to make a big deal of the headache because there's no purpose to. You can take some aspirin, some Advil, some Aleve. Just talk to your doctor about medications over the counter that you can and can't use. There's also homeopathic products on the market as well too. If you go to your local vitamin shop or you go to your local, supplement store, ask them what natural products are out there on the market that you can use to help manage your headache. But my primary recommendation, drink some water, take a nap, take a walk, and chances are this headache is going to pass. Now, going into the evening of the first 24 hours, you're most likely going to experience some insomnia, especially if you're used to having that cigarette before bed or hitting that vape prior to bed. You're going to have some insomnia. It's going to be on your mind. So I always recommend planning out your evenings to the best of your ability. I know in my first 24 hours of quitting, I was a big fan of watching motivational or educational YouTube videos. So find something that you like to binge watch, get yourself set up for an evening of probably some insomnia, and be ready to binge watch some TV. Now, people ask me, you can read a book too, you can meditate, you can exercise at night, I don't really care what you do, just be prepared to fill that nighttime void. Now, people often say, Frank, should I take melatonin? Should I take supplements? Listen, no, taking melatonin, don't vape melatonin, don't vape it. Taking melatonin isn't a bad thing, but in my opinion, you're trying to heal, you're trying to rebalance the human body, you're trying to detox all this stuff out, not put more stuff in. So I think it's best that you just let the insomnia run its course, which usually doesn't last more than 1 to 3 days. And I promise after 24 to 48 hours of insomnia, you're eventually going to fall asleep. My personal opinion, the best way to manage the insomnia is to try to wake up early, even though you're tired, and do some mildly strenuous exercise. This is going to wear you down physically. If you can challenge yourself mentally throughout the day, whether that's with school, doing puzzles, working on projects, I don't really care what it is, you're gonna find that you're eventually going to fall asleep. And again, I want you to keep in mind what I said for the first 2 days. A small headache, some cravings, maybe on the first day, and insomnia. Not that big of a deal. I want you guys to put this into perspective. What are you more worried about? The long-term effects, if you continue to vape for the rest of your life, or you continue to smoke cigarettes for the rest of your life, or these short, minor, hardly noticeable side effects of quitting. Okay. So that's our first day. We got through day number 1. We were feeling good. We were feeling motivated. Here we go to days number 2 and 3. Now, for most people, nicotine withdrawal is going to peak at day number 3. And then I promise after the 3rd day, it becomes so much easier. But what do I mean by the peaking of nicotine withdrawal? Usually on this day, people might notice some shaking or some unsteadiness in their hands. Mentally, you might be feeling a bit more anxious or a bit more depressed. Now, I promise that's only a short-term feeling. Long-term, chances are you're going to feel way less anxiety and you're going to feel way less depression after you quit nicotine. But in the first 3 days, you might notice a little increased anxiety and depression. Again, it's no big deal. This is your body going through that phase of dopamine detox, if you will, right? You've been used to hitting your vape 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 times a day, smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, chewing a tin a day. That nicotine does release dopamine, and now you're not getting that constant dopamine fix, which isn't a bad thing. Long term, this is going to be a really, really good thing. But that does explain a little bit of the increased anxiety, a little bit of the increased depression. Very, very normal in the first 3 days. Now, at this point, you might also notice some sweating, and you might also notice some bowel changes. Most people notice constipation at this point, usually not the opposite of that. Again, no big deal. Nicotine was a stimulant. Your body now no longer has that stimulant effect on the gastrointestinal system, so you might be dealing with a little bit of constipation. I do encourage people in the first few days of quitting, try to watch the foods that you're eating. Try and eat healthy foods, because the last thing you want to do is find yourself feeling bloated. One, that might trigger a relapse. A lot of people prefer to vape after a large meal, or they prefer to smoke after a large meal. And if you're feeling super bloated and constipated, that might lead to a relapse. So I do recommend in the first 3 days of quitting, do your best to eat healthy, keep it to smaller, lighter meals, okay? Yes, you might have some candy cravings and stuff, no big deal. But try and keep it healthy to avoid that constipation and that irregular bowel movements. Now, if you are really struggling with bowel movements, you could consider going to get some smooth move tea. Just be aware that laxative effect usually kicks in about 6 to 12 hours after drinking the tea. So read the instructions if you're going to do something like that. But that's a simple way to deal with the constipation. Eating healthy, exercising also helps with GI function. And if you really need to, some smooth move tea. Again, not a good reason to relapse. The sweating, don't worry about it. It passes after about a day or so. You can speed up that detox process by, again, mild to light exercise that creates some degree of perspiration. If you have access to a sauna, I would recommend now is a great time to go check that out. And here you are, you're approaching the 3rd day. You're probably a little bit exhausted, a little bit depressed, and still feeling slightly anxious about things. That's okay, because you're about to get through day 3. After you get through day 3, this process becomes significantly easier. Now, I will say as a disclaimer, if you're watching this and you're on day 4 or day 5, don't panic. Don't freak out if you're still not feeling great. Most of the withdrawals from nicotine will peak between 3 to 5 days for nicotine withdrawal. After those 3 to 5 days, though, I promise it gets better. And there's a reason why it gets better. Most of the nicotine and cocaine, the byproduct of nicotine, is totally gone from your body after 10 days. What a weak drug this actually is. After 10 days, most of the nicotine, most of the byproducts of nicotine have fully escaped your body and they're on their way out. This is great news for you, because now, for the first 3 weeks, for the first 3 months, the only thing you're left to deal with is the nicotine cravings. And nicotine cravings have everything to do with the mindset. This is not a physical withdrawal symptom. This is all about the mindset and how you view nicotine. I made another video on nicotine withdrawal and the mindset surrounding nicotine withdrawal for the first 3 months, so be sure to check that video out. I put the tag for it in here. So I want you to take away from this video, thing number one, you have nothing to fear when it comes to quitting nicotine. The withdrawals are relatively minor. Thing number two, if you just keep yourself busy, if you keep yourself active, I think you're going to do just fine. Boredom, in my opinion, boredom and isolation is the enemy of nicotine addiction. Wait, did I say that correctly? Boredom and isolation, well, it's kind of like the best friend to keep you addicted to nicotine, but if you can avoid boredom and isolation, you're going to probably achieve long-term success and you're going to do really well in those first few days of quitting. I hope this helps. I hope this makes you guys realize that you have nothing to fear. If it did, be sure to subscribe, ask questions in the comments below, and follow me into the next video where I do discuss the mindset surrounding the first 3 months of nicotine addiction and nicotine withdrawal, which ends after about 3 days. Catch you in the next video.